Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's episode of Marv on Air. Today is Thursday, September 26th, and we are actually recording it on Thursday morning. A bit of a new situation going on here, and if you notice an echo in the room, it is a slight echo. We'll get that figured out. That is because we are in a new situation, as you can tell. Brand new scenery. It's pretty awesome. Joining me today to talk all about the NFL and college football landscape, as well as a few other sports, because everything seems to be hitting the news right now, is the man, the myth, the legend, Chase Malloy. Chase, thank you for joining me on this Thursday morning. We got a lot to talk about, but before we do, make sure, if you are listening on Spotify, to check out our YouTube to see the new scenery. We appreciate you listeners out there. And today's episode, I will really quickly say, is brought to you by you, the listener. We appreciate every single one of you guys, and the 10 seconds it takes for you guys to like, subscribe, or share this means more than you know. It does actually move the needle. So shout out to you guys out there. Let's jump right on into it. Look at this guy.
Hammer! Whoa, close! Oh my God, I should pop off on your ass about the Coke.
We feed family!
Come on, you're telling me. 1 sec.
Iowa State is going to win this game!
Now I'm a bronsexual and go broad.
NFL, obviously, tonight we have a game. But before we can get to that, last week we had a few big situations go down. We are through week 3 entirely. And I think we're starting to see some identities occur to develop, if you will. The Patriots get their shit rocked by the Jets. Did not necessarily love that. Our only primetime game, we lose by 21. Chase, the Saints also lose this last week to the Eagles. What is the look on the Saints as they started so hot and everyone thought they were potentially going to win the Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, the offense kind of died down. We knew it wasn't really sustainable to put up 40 every game. The Eagles came to play. The defense looked a lot better. Only put up 12. You're not going to win games putting up 12 in the NFL unless you're the Steelers.
Jeez.
So Philly put up 15. Defense on our side looked good still. Look to rebound this week.
Yeah, that's kind of how the NFL goes, right? We're taking a week to week, and at this point, neither the Patriots or the Saints are going to be winning the Super Bowl. I think the team that has the best look to win the Super Bowl is probably the Chiefs, because they have won 3 games by a single play each, and it's getting to the point where I probably won't watch any of their games at all. But on the NFC side, the Vikings are making some noise with Sam Darnold back there, Aaron Jones. They defeat the Texans 34-7, and I think that, honestly, this was a bit of a test kind of for both teams, because both teams were kind of hot moving into this game. Now obviously the Texans 2-1, they can't both be 2-1 if one team wins when they're both undefeated. So what do you make of the Vikings? I think, honestly, on the NFC side, they're a real contender in that division. The Bears kind of look like trash, which I can't say I didn't expect, but with Caleb Williams, who knew? And then obviously the Lions and the Packers. The Packers have made it work without Jordan Love. Can the Vikings get out of that division and make a run in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think so. Their defense is legit. I mean, it just seems to confuse every quarterback that comes at them. Offense looks solid. Darnold's playing well. I mean, just throw the ball to Jettas and you're good, pretty much. So they look good. I mean, I didn't expect it. I think they're better off now than if JJ was playing, to be honest with you. Darnold seems to be having a year. It's early. A lot of ball left.
I agree with the J.J. McCarthy sentiment there. I think rookie quarterback sitting is very important. Obviously I don't have a real good say in the matter, right? Like, I'm just some dude in Ames sitting and talking about football, but I just think from what we've seen, guys that sit generally do better. Obviously, C.J. Stroud is the standout, and one guy who fits into that mold is Bryce Young. Got benched this week, and the Panthers looked really good. I think that's an interesting situation, because are the Panthers going to go on and win 10 more games? No. Okay, they're probably going to end up at 4 or 5 wins at the absolute most. But I do think there is a bit of, I think partially with that is a resurgence, of the team with a new quarterback. But I want to know what your thoughts are on Bryce Young potentially being the problem in Carolina. We saw, obviously, so Sam Darnold now with the Vikings, right, leading this team. We just talked about how they're actually Super Bowl contenders. Remember his stints with Carolina, with the Jets. He's kind of played like dog shit everywhere, but then he finds his role in Minnesota. Does Bryce Young just need to change the scenery, a new OC, new head coach, new team around him? Obviously, we know that the Panthers are, let's just say, not 5 stars all up and down the roster. But Andy Dalton found a way to make it work. He had a couple absolute seeds down the field, absolute dime to Adam Thielen, diving catch in the end zone. I personally think Bryce Young, not necessarily the problem, but certainly a component in that. What do you make of that situation?
Yeah, I mean, Darnold has a lot of NFL experience. He knows how to play the NFL quarterback. He's been around for a bit. I think the experience is huge. I don't know if he's sustainable. Who knows? Everyone's good for like a 4-week stint where they just go off, like we see it with Dobbs last year. I mean, I don't know if Young's the problem. He probably needs. I like him sitting for him anyway. I would rather see him start because Panthers are in the Saints division. I'd like them to be as bad as possible. So, I mean, jeez. I don't want to see this Panthers team when they're on a roll. I'd rather see them when they're down. But I don't know. I agree with you. I think they'll get maybe 3 more wins this year, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily about who you play, but when you play them. These teams go through ebb and flows every single season, right? The Chiefs are going to lose a few games. They are one of the best teams in the NFL, especially considering they're not a team of 22 or 33, if you include special teams, but also the 6, 7, 8 refs out on the field, right? Like they have more players than anyone else in the league. Now, in that same role, right, the Bengals, 0-3 to start the season. Last touching point from last week. The Commanders get the best of them on Monday night, and obviously it was kind of a tale of two stories, right? It was the Commanders are on the top right now, and the Bengals are on the bottom. Jaden Daniels throws for the highest completion percentage by a rookie, I think, in a game ever. It was like 93%, 93.7, 25 of 27 on his completions. I think he had 3 touchdowns. I mean, just looked absolutely unbelievable, and they defeat him 38-33. I'm curious what you think of Jaden Daniels. Did not sit, obviously jumped right in. I was pretty high on Jaden Daniels. I kind of wanted the Patriots to get up and get him. But Drake May, we don't know if he's bad or not yet, so I can't necessarily say that I'm pissed off that we didn't get him. But clearly, he knows how to throw. He's got composure in the pocket. He's dropping absolute dimes. And Terry McLaurin has finally got himself a real quarterback. What do you make of both the Commanders and the Bengals after week 3?
Yeah, I think the Bengals have that offense that should be explosive anyway. There were no punts or turnovers in this game. So, I mean, that's something to look at. But I think Daniels might be the real deal. It's a little early to tell, but he looks good. But also that Bengals defense looks bad. They don't look like they have anything put together. They're going to have to figure that out if they want to contend. But I don't think the Commanders are the Commanders are actual contenders either. I think they'll be around that 500 mark. Young quarterback, but maybe he pulls a Stroud year. He's exciting to watch. His throwing's great, and then he's always keeping his eyes down the field, and he can scramble well. So you gotta stay back, but you also can't let him get the easy yards, the 5 yards, because he's gonna get 5 yards every game or
he's
every
quick.
play.
He is quick on his feet. Broke a couple ankles. I mean, everyone called me crazy when I said the Commanders were going to win that division. I think it's like been 20-something years since there was a repeat division winner, so that obviously makes it a 1 out of 3 chance instead of 1 out of 4. Didn't feel great about the Eagles, and I mean, really, are we going to pick the Giants? Come on, let's be serious here. So it's either a repeat or the Commanders. I think the Commanders can still get it done. Obviously, we don't need that kind of performance every single week. We just need to get a win every here and now and then, and that division will kind of beat itself up. And I think the Commanders can at least walk away with a division title and make its way into the playoffs there. Speaking of the division, Thursday night, tonight, we've got Cowboys-Giants staying in that division, and it's an absolute shit bowl. We did not expect the Cowboys to be this bad. And they're 1-2. Giants also 1-2, which is kind of crazy to say. Dak Prescott leading that Cowboys team after a major deal. CeeDee Lamb as well. Obviously, the conversation last week was about Derrick Henry. Could the Cowboys get Derrick Henry? No, they were too let's say cheap. You know, they couldn't afford Derrick Henry. The Cowboys are one of those teams that we always expect to do well in the regular season and turn it off when the postseason comes around. And the Giants, nobody really had high expectations for them. But looking forward to tonight, who do you have on this Thursday night football matchup? And as far as the Cowboys go, can they get it turned around to, you know, at least make the playoffs and then probably, you know, fizzle out in the divisional round?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they're changing kind of like strategies here and having their downfall early in the season and hopefully pick it up to make the playoffs. And then maybe they'll be good in the playoffs because they already sucked early on. I like the Cowboys tonight, obviously. I mean, it's chalk. Giants, I don't think, are very good. Maybe Neighbors and Jones can put something together this week. And, I mean, the defense for the Cowboys hasn't looked great, so it's possible. Devin Singletary could lead this game in rushing, I think. I don't know. Parsons has got to step it up. Got to get that defense going.
Agreed. I mean, defense wins championships, right? So I'm looking at this whole slate of Sunday games, okay? Now, we're all obviously excited that the NFL is back, but I have heard some chatter around the internet about how the NFL is kind of unwatchable this year. People think it's a lot of snooze fest games, and then obviously the Chiefs being the Chiefs. I mean, I've touched on that enough. Looking at this, obviously Saints-Falcons, I don't know how you feel about that. I think the Falcons are better than 1-2, unlike, you know, the Cowboys and Giants. I think those teams both deserve to be 1-2, but the Falcons have been really close and just been unable to get it done. I think, obviously, that fourth down play call against the Chiefs was very, very questionable, but the no PI call in the end zone, it all kind of, you know, that's how the NFL goes. Rams-Bears, what are we going to get from that game? Vikings-Packers, that'll probably be a good divisional matchup, but Steelers-Colts, like, that's got potential, I guess. Bengals-Panthers, Jaguars-Texans, Patriots-49ers, probably going to lose by 65. Browns-Raiders. Like, what are these games? I don't understand why this season has been a bit of a letdown. But on Monday night, I think Seahawks-Lions, this NFC kind of showdown, could be a battle that we'll see in the postseason, maybe that 5-6 seed for both of these teams. What do you make of the NFL slate this far into the season? Have you been kind of, I won't say satisfied, but has it met your expectations? Because it feels like it's always just must-watch TV. And this year, I will say, a few of the games have been like Bills-Jaguars on Monday night. I didn't even click on the show at all. I was solely watching Bengals-Commanders. So do you look forward to the Sundays, to the Octobox, if you will, or are you pretty much just tuned out and you're looking forward to the playoffs?
I don't have Red Zone or NFL ticket, so I get the two games that come in to my area, and then that's about it. We stream usually whatever game we want on our one TV that we can stream any game we want on because we have a jailbroke Fire Stick, but that's besides the point. Yeah, I mean, I've never been like super big in the NFL. I've been more of a college guy. But with passing and scoring down this year, there is a lot of complaints that it's not as exciting. There's not as much must watch. This slate this week's not great. I do agree with you. I think that Seahawks-Lions game is probably one of the better games. Bills-Ravens is interesting. Ravens haven't got going too well this year. They're 1-2. I think they're better than that. Yeah, there's not too much I'm excited for here, to be honest with you.
That's what I thought. I was looking at the slate and I'm like, okay, you know, maybe a few bad games to start, and I keep scrolling and I'm like, oh God, like this. Hey, we're still happy they're back. Okay, we're glad we're watching football, but I honestly think college football might be the way to go. Now, let's jump right on into the college football landscape with some news to start. NIL has been big in the last few years after just getting legalized. Players are obviously getting their money for their name, image, and likeness. I think that that's important. I do. I think that these guys deserve it, but it is raising a lot of issues, okay? We just got news in the last 2 days that UNLV, who is a bubble playoff team now with this 12-team format, you know, they could be looking to make a push. They're 3-0 at the current moment in time, looking to make that playoff with a G5 spot. They lose their starting quarterback, Matt Sluka. Hell of a name from this guy. Was allegedly promised $100K and was paid $3,000 of it, and just decided, you know what, that's enough. I'm going to redshirt and I'm going to transfer out of here. basically just said, fuck this place. And I don't really blame the guy. What would that be? Is that 0.3%? No. I don't even know what that is. I think that's like 0.3%. Yeah, 3% because 3 out of 10 would be 30. Yeah, so we're getting there. So math isn't obviously my strong suit. But I do think, that's the biggest name right now. We have a few others. The running back from UNLV, a fourth stringer. So is he going to make a big impact on the team? I don't know. Maybe he was a locker room guy. Michael Allen decides to redshirt as well. And the guy from USC, Bear Alexander, has 4 or 5 tackles this season, 4 solo, 5 total. Is he also going to make a difference, in that USC game? In their team, I don't know. But these guys are starting to smarten up a little bit and say, hey, you know what? I don't need to play for free. If you guys aren't going to give me what you said you were going to give, it's one thing if you just don't play because you're not getting paid at all. Like if I was playing, I wouldn't be making anything, right? I'm a sideline guy. I'm lucky if I suit up. But these guys are promised $100,000, and then it's like, yeah, okay, we'll give you 3% of that and hope you just don't notice. Okay, you might want to get a little closer to $100,000 if you don't want them to notice. Chase, what would you do if you were in a situation where you were given here's $100,000, and then your first check is written out for, $1,500, and you're like, hey, where's the rest of it? They give you another one for $1,500, and you're not on pace to make that $100,000. Would you just end up walking away? Do you respect these guys' decision, or do you think that these guys need to go out and just play the game because they're lucky to be out on the field?
I agree with his decision just because everything that's come out, they said that they weren't even paying his living expenses. And I'm sure a lot of guys that aren't promised 100K are getting their living expenses paid for. He's 3-0. I mean, if they can make the playoff, losing him is huge. They're not probably going to anymore. Being 3-0, you would think they could pay him because getting to that playoff would raise so much money for that school. I mean, it'd be substantial. Bringing new recruits and such. Being in the Vegas area is probably pretty big for them. I mean, I'm sure a lot of college students would love to go to just Vegas, play ball, and party their butts off. But I know I would.
I know you're in that category for sure.
Yeah. But no, I respect the decision. They're getting paid now, so when they're promised this money and then they don't get it, why not sit out, take your red shirt, keep a year eligibility? Because maybe he doesn't make the NFL, and this money is something that he can kind of establish himself with and then retire early. I mean, quality of life, baby.
That's right. We're playing the long game here. We're not trying to, I guess, yeah, no, that's the long game. Yeah, that's definitely the long game. All right, looking at the last week's slate of games, we won't touch on this for too long. It's too bad Redden's not here because Nebraska got their shit rocked a little bit. Illinois beats them 31-24. That one was interesting solely because we do have a Nebraska guy in studio. I don't think more than 15 people watched that one, although they did obviously sell out the stadium. So we don't need to dive into that too close. Tennessee beat Oklahoma. We talked about that one last week. We thought that would be a really good game. I'm looking at Michigan getting their win here over USC. That was huge. Iowa State beating Arkansas State handedly. I was at that game. I don't think we looked the best. Obviously, Arkansas State probably a bottom 25 team in the the FBS. And then what do we got? Northern Illinois loses to Buffalo, probably loses out on their playoff chances. And Iowa's not even on this list because they're not in the top 25. Chase, what did you make of this last week? Was there any major movement? We're now getting into conference play this week, so this is where kind of the needle starts to actually move as far as wins and losses with this new 12-team format and a loss not being worth as much as it used to be. But what do you make of like Michigan winning? What do you make of maybe Iowa State's win in their battle for the Big 12? And I don't know. I guess the Nebraska game is kind of important.
Yeah, Michigan kind of proved that USC might not be as good as we thought. Maybe Michigan's better than we thought, but I mean, I think Orgy had like 30-something passing yards. They just ran the ball down their throats. That defense looks good. They put up 24 on them still, but that USC offense is very solid. Miller Moss is a stud. Utah beating Oklahoma State without Cam Rising was pretty big, I'd say. And then you were talking about Iowa State. They look like real contenders for the Big 12. Utah being the big one that they got, the other guy they got to beat. But I didn't watch that Iowa State game. I was at the Iowa-Minnesota game, and it was a first half once again. Bummer. Looked bad. We were really down on it. Came out, blew it up the second half. Looked great. It was awesome there. 31-14 was the score of that game. Caleb Johnson, stud, needs to be in Heisman talk. I'll get more into that later. But, there wasn't too much on this slate. This week is more interesting, so excited for this week.
Yeah, no, this week is going to be big. Definitely excited for college football to ramp up. Texas wins 51-3 last week. Just a few other scores that might be of note. Miami handles South Florida. That was a good one. And then what do we have? I had another notable standout. Oh, LSU. It's not necessarily a big win over UCLA by any means. Non-conference game, 34-17 final score. But I just want to point out Nussmeier. Dude, have you seen this guy play?
I have not. I've not watched one of their games yet.
Oh, my God. You got to turn on one of their games. I swear. If you're listening to this, man, look at Nussmeier throw the football around. Even if you don't watch a full game, just go back and watch his highlights thus far this season. This dude is a surgeon with the ball. I mean, he's not necessarily flashy by any means, but in this last game, he went 32 of 44. 44 pass attempts, kind of a lot. That's almost 75%, probably close to it at 32. He just doesn't miss. He had 3 touchdowns. I mean, he is really, really fun to watch. Okay, moving forward to this next week. What game are you most excited for here? I'm seeing a couple of really good matchups, and then obviously Iowa State going down to Houston is the one I'm probably most interested in just because our Big 12 championship hopes are still alive. What does Iowa have this week, and what are you going to have on your TV?
Iowa's got a bye this week, so
okay.
I'm free to watch whatever I want. The big one this week is obviously Georgia-Alabama. I mean, we get to see if Bama with the new head coach comes in, can compete with Georgia. Georgia didn't look great against Kentucky. But, I mean, I think that's anyone's game. I don't know what the spread is on that.
That is currently Georgia -2.
-2. I won't be betting on it probably just because it feels like a game where Bama beats them. Just because Bama's supposed to have a down year. Georgia's supposed to be national title or bust. So there's a couple other good ones. Louisville, Notre Dame. That'll be a solid one. 6.5 Notre Dame favorite. It's at Notre Dame. I think that's a little too many points. I think that'll be a tight one. Michigan, Minnesota could be interesting. I don't think Michigan should be 9.5 point favorites, but Minnesota didn't look great against Iowa in the second half anyway. So, I mean, those are my few that I'm really excited for.
Yeah, I think Georgia can cover that 2-point spread, honestly, but I'm higher on Georgia, I think, than the majority of the population just because of their, I don't know, them getting snubbed last year was just really kind of, it irked me. A lot of people were upset about FSU, and understandably so, I guess, because of the resume they had, but they were dog shit, and it's being shown this year, right? Like, they obviously don't have the exact same team they did last year, but man, come on. Utah, Arizona, that's one I think could actually, maybe Arizona sneaks that one in. They're 2-1 right now. Utah looks unbelievable, but like you said, these games, sometimes they're just perfect storm, a bit of a matchup situation. Maybe it's a bit of a situational situation where the team, like Ohio State, Michigan State, I don't think Michigan State is necessarily good enough to beat Ohio State, but I think that there is kind of that Big Ten tension in that game where maybe Michigan State, I mean, it's 23.5 point spread, right? Like, no one is really expecting Michigan State to cover or to win that game, but I expect them to at least cover and keep it close. But, I mean, I don't know shit, so maybe Ohio State wins it by 38. Like, that's entirely possible. But now that we're moving into this kind of conference play, like, now these games actually really matter as far as going into the I'll say postseason as far as conference championship goes. Like Virginia Tech, Miami, probably not a great game on paper, but definitely means more, right? Like we want these games to mean more. I'm going to pivot away from football a little bit here. We've got one more big thing that I wanted to touch on. And I know you're not the biggest baseball guy. That's kind of our Redden's kind of our guy on that. Nebraska and baseball. Wow. Baseball are his things. Shohei Ohtani has been having an unbelievable year. There's a lot going on in baseball as they're closing in on the postseason. Detroit is like making the craziest push of all time while the White Sox are just tanking. I mean, historically bad season. They need to win, I think, 5 of their last 5 or 6 of their last 7 or something like that to avoid being the worst team in baseball history. But Shohei Ohtani comes out, and I don't have any idea who it was against, and I don't have really any stats up to show what really happened other than the fact that he hit a 50-50 home run ball. Do you know anything about that situation? Can you break it down for me, or do I need to just completely guess?
I know a little bit. I know the game. I think he went 50-50, and on the same game he went 51-51.
I think so.
I believe he went 6 for 6 that game with 2 bombs and then two doubles, a single, and then maybe another single because my math isn't adding up. But I mean, he's probably the best player we've seen because he can also come out and be a top 10 pitcher in the league once his arm heals up. He's not graded high just because he's a DH, but he's very exciting to watch. Very good ball player.
I think it was against the Mariners, I want to say, because I remember seeing something about their manager or whatever they call them. I guess they don't have coaches. They have managers in baseball, saying that, like, hey, we're not going to pitch away from him just out of integrity for the game. But that 50-50 ball, for those of you who don't know, and I don't know if I'm saying this right or not, but I think it's home runs and bases stolen. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So that's kind of a big deal, I guess. That's like a lot of some things. I don't really have any metrics for baseball. Like, it's like me saying, oh, Josh Allen only threw for 1,100 yards last night. And it's like, okay, well, that was like 7 times more than what should have been. So I really don't have a reference for what these numbers mean, but I do know it's a really, really big deal because once that ball was hit and, it goes into the stands, it's a free-for-all. All right, that's a money ball. Whoever gets that ball is going to acquire money in some capacity. The guy who got the ball decided not to give it back to the Dodgers. I think he was offered $300,000 or $350,000. Pretty good amount of money, not going to lie. If someone came up to me and offered me $300,000, I would definitely take it. Now, I'm not as smart as this guy because this guy keeps the ball and decides to try to auction it off for, I think he's starting at $4.2 million.
Holy.
Yeah, big business guy. Okay, there's a reason why I am not as wealthy as this guy, apparently. This guy knows how to manipulate the market and really leverage his assets. So what is your thought process on the guy who got the ball? Okay, should he give the ball back, kind of like Tom Brady's, I think it was like 600th or 500th touchdown pass or whatever that was in Tampa? That guy ended up giving the ball back, and I think he got like tickets, signed stuff from Tom, and a couple $100,000 or something like that. Just a little, let's call it party bag, just as you're walking out of the birthday party, they give you the little goodie bag. I think he basically got one of those from Tampa Bay. Definitely no $4.2 million by any means. Or do you commend the guy for, holding on to it and trying to generate some sort of generational wealth?
No, it was a smart move by him. I'm pretty sure he was offered that on his way out of the game. As soon as he got the ball, he just left. Just didn't want to talk to anyone. I think they offered him the $300K as he was walking out. He says, nope, it's worth more than that, which it probably is. The only problem now is if you don't sell it off fast enough, soon there could be a 55-55 ball, and then that goes up. The reason it's so big, I don't know if I assume you knew this, but he's the only one to ever do it. He created the 50-50 club. And I don't know if we'll ever see a guy do it again just because bomb hitters typically aren't as fast as he is and don't steal as many bases. Jesus. So, I mean, he's stealing third when no one steals third because catchers can throw you out pretty easily to third. Second's a little easier to get just because it's further away. But he steals third base, and he's just a freak. Great play by this guy. I don't think he'll get 4.2 out of it, but I also don't know the market on 50-50 balls. So, I mean, get your money. So don't blame him.
That's kind of been the theme of today's episode. I think he needs 7 more home runs to get to 60-60. I don't know how many bases he needs to steal. You can't really steal bases if you're hitting home runs too. They kind of go against each other, right? That's what my thought process is here. If you're hitting home runs, you don't get to hang out on base and steal a base, with that. So they kind of have to go up separately. This guy seems to be absolutely generational. And one thing that I have seen online is the conversation around him coming back to pitching. Had Tommy John surgery, correct me if I'm wrong, last year, and has been sitting out, only playing DH, so only hitting the ball as far as I understand. Like I said, absolutely know nothing about baseball. But do the Dodgers put him back on the mound with the risk of him getting hurt again if he is this good at just hitting? I don't know if it's in his contract. I would assume, if he signed the contract without being injured, they were like, all right, hey, you're going to have to pitch this many pitches for us and do this, that, and the other thing, which is insane to think about because this guy is so unbelievably good. Think about this, not only from Shohei's perspective, but the managers, the Detroit team, from the Dodgers team. And let's just ignore if the contract, let's just say it doesn't say that. Would you put Shohei back on the mound?
Yeah, they talked about bringing him back in during like postseason. So it's actually probably not that far out. It's probably pretty close to postseason. I mean, I think I'm no expert, but once you get Tommy John, I think you're pretty much good to go once you're healed up. I mean, generational talent. So I don't know if you want to risk throwing him out there. He's not 100%. I mean, when you're pitching, you're throwing the ball as hard as you can. So anything can happen to that arm, obviously. It seems like anymore, eventually pitchers' arms give out and they need Tommy John. And oftentimes it seems like they come back and throw even harder somehow, which is insane. But I mean, if they're rolling without him on the mound, I say you keep him out, wait till next year, let him get the offseason to heal up, because they're not even playing him in the outfield right now just because they don't want him throwing the ball. So, I mean, why risk it? He's such a good hitter anyway. I was hearing some stats, and like he's accounted for like 12 wins or something by himself, just like by metric or something like that. I think in the game where he hit 6 for 6, it was like 0.7 of a win in a single game. Just nuts stuff out of him. So I don't know if you risk throwing that arm out again. If he's 100% healthy and wants to go, sure. He seems like a gamer, so he probably does. He's probably ready to get back on the mound, but you got to be safe with him.
I agree. I personally, I would be like, yeah, I don't know if we need you back out there, but I think you're making enough impact as it is. But I mean, like you said, he might be just a gamer, might be a baller, want to get out there and make even more impact on the game. Pitching in the MLB is very interesting to me. I don't understand it at all because they have to sit, they have to rest. I understand from an injury perspective, from a body use perspective, I get kind of it, but I also really don't watch enough baseball or listen to. Maybe I should start listening to some baseball podcasts or something and to really understand what's going on there, because we do have the postseason coming up. Maybe we'll try to get a guest on. Get a baseball-centric maybe podcast host or something to really break it down for us.
Shohei on.
Dude, we should. We really should. I would have Redden explain it to me, but the fool is absolutely out sleeping in the next room. So I'm trying to be loud as I can to wake that fool up to really let him know, hey, maybe you need to get in here and break down baseball for us. Now, we have broken through the barrier that is everything kind of going on in the sports world right now. Let's take a closer deep dive into our zero and hero for the week. Chase, who is your zero for this week of sports?
Yeah, we've been on the money talk today, so I would say my wallet is, because we went up to Minnesota this week, and me and Redden went with some friends. They're under 21, so they can't gamble in Iowa, but it's 18 in Minnesota. So went to the casino both nights. I got absolutely stunned the first night. It was awful. I went down majorly. Built my way back up the second night. I'm still down though, so it is what it is, but it's not as bad anymore. And then I'm just not doing great on sports betting either, which is just besides the point.
Sports betting is absolutely impossible. What's your go-to at the casino? What are we doing? Are we playing roulette? Are we playing a little blackjack?
Big blackjack guy. Blackjack's where I made most of my money back. It's hit or miss. You can lose it all so quick, but you can also go up really fast if the table's hot. I'll do a little bit of roulette here and there. I tried the old, if you lose, just double your bet and keep rolling it. And it was working great. And then I think they caught on to me, and I lost 7 in a row. So I lost my whole balance.
That's tough.
It was very tough. It was not fun. So I went and played the machine that always pays out, the ATM.
Look at that. That's 100% win rate.
Always winning there. But
I thought you were going to go somewhere. You were just trying to look for a win. That's all you needed. You just needed to get some money.
Well, then I bought back into virtual blackjack, and then it's just not good. Don't play virtual machines.
Yeah, my only experience with casinos are 2 things. the 5-cent slots, which are awesome. I can go in with $1, and worst case scenario, I lose 20 in a row. Best case scenario, I'm entertained for about 2 hours and I make 35 cents. I mean, it's a win-win. My other situation I was in, walk up to the blackjack table. I think it was I want to say $15 hands, and lost all three with $50 in my hand. Just walked out of there an empty man. So, maybe card games aren't for me. We know sports gambling is not for me either. That is kind of just how it goes. I think luck is not always on my side, but you know what, Chase? If you can find it at the roulette table, maybe exploring baccarat. I don't know what that is. Sounds like people make a lot of money on that. I'm glad you're able to get out there and really break down the tables there. My zero for the week, we'll do both the zeros because this is an unknown format for us with basically two people. So if you're still listening at this point to two guys just talk about football and really money, that's really all we've talked about today. Shout out to you guys. You guys are the real ones. Speaking of the money, though, my zero for the week, I think, is the NCAA. They handled the NIL situation so poorly. It's really kind of coming back to bite them in the ass, and we've talked about it before, so I'm not going to go in too deep on it, but I just think that it could be handled so much better, and the NCAA does get a lot of shit, and rightfully so. I think that they are a very poorly run organization at sometimes. We're starting to see, do we even really need them around? I'm sure that if they were to go away, we would realize we do need them more than we probably think we do. And they do a lot more than just piss us off. But that seems to be the main thing we notice, right? That is kind of just like what they're really, really good at. So NCAA, figure out your shit, okay? Maybe we do something right for once. Now that's a very strong statement coming from a guy who absolutely botched our biggest interview of the year last night. We're going to get him on at some point potentially, or at least we'll have an interview next week. Don't you guys worry. But this week, it's just Chase and I, okay? We're really making it work. Now, let's turn up the notch to the positive side of things. Chase, who's your hero for the week?
I talked about it a little bit earlier, but Caleb Johnson. The guy is carrying Iowa football on his back right now. I mean, leading the nation in rushing, has 9 touchdowns already this season. I think he needs to be more. I think he actually reached Heisman talk this week. I think he needs to be more in it. I mean, just an absolute stud. He does everything for us. I mean, hits holes hard, fast as crap. Just not much more to say about him. He's been a real cornerstone for us. And that's with missing a half of football. He's the leading rusher in the nation. I don't think he'll win it just because he's on an Iowa team that might not be in the college football playoff. It seems like your team needs to be really good, even though we saw with Jaden Daniels, they were like 9-3 and he won it. So I just think since he's on Iowa, he probably won't get it, which really sucks. Hopefully, if he keeps balling out, continuously putting up these 200-yard games, obviously then I think he has to be in the talk. I know the Boise State running back, Genty, something like that.
Ashton Genty or Genty or however you say it, yeah.
Yeah. I know he's like second behind Beck, maybe. I don't know for sure, but yeah, Caleb Johnson, just give him the respect he deserves.
Absolute dog. Iowa, it's an interesting situation because, like in the NFL, the MVP you can't really play for a dog shit team and win the MVP. Like you can, and I think you should be able to because I think those guys are the epitome of the award, right? It's the most valuable. And how can you be the most valuable? Well, you're either really, really good or the rest of your team is dog shit and you just kind of stand out. So, I mean, those guys that play on bad teams, I think, deserve more of a fair shake at those kinds of awards. But knowing how humans operate, they don't always get that fair shake. It's kind of like, well, yeah, he rushes for 300 yards a game, but what does that really do for the team? They can't get the wins. Okay, let's just leave it there because I don't know if that's necessarily a fair assessment, and I'm not on any sort of voting board, so I don't really have a say in the matter. But I do appreciate the flowers, for Johnson. That's as much as I don't like Iowa, it's kind of fair. Now, my hero for the week, speaking of wins, Colorado Buffaloes, baby. They're going to win on to win the national championship this year. I think they, with their win over, who is this, Utah? Or I don't even know who they played last week. They won on this They won on this Hail Mary. I've got it pulled up.
Tied it on the Hail Mary. Tied it to go to overtime.
Yeah.
Basically won it.
Basically won it. I feel like the momentum was there. And dude, how can you bet against Colorado? Oh, it's Baylor. Okay, they beat Baylor. So one of the best teams basically ever assembled. Okay, let's just look at this with real situational awareness here. Baylor, best team probably in the history of college football, realistically. In Colorado, they walking out of the tunnel, and everyone's like, boo, Colorado sucks. Oh, you guys suck. And then they shock the world, and they destroy Baylor. Okay, now everyone's like, oh, I want to be a Colorado fan. Who is this team? I've never heard of them in the press ever, right? These guys, they might be the best team ever assembled if they just beat Baylor. All right, I'm trying to put more attention on them. They are absolutely undefeatable. Okay, they're going to win the Big 12 after they defeat Iowa State, of course. And that, we'll get runner-up. I'm okay with that. We'll get in at the 12 seed. Colorado will be a 1 seed. They're going to be the best team in the nation. Shedeur is going to win the Heisman, and then Travis Hunter will win Heisman Part 2. They'll split it both ways, and they're going to walk away with a national title this year. I'm really excited to see Colorado make this turnaround over the last couple years. People have kind of, rightfully so, shit on them, right? They're pretty bad previously, but now they are absolutely at the top of the mountain.
You are absolutely overreacting. This is a loser program.
Whoa.
They were down by a lot. They came back, beat Baylor, and then
they got that dog in them.
Their students stormed the field. The Baylor's not even ranked. What are we doing?
They stormed the field because Baylor's the best team of all time. Obviously, they were hated by the NCAA, which is what I just talked about. The NCAA is like, all right, these guys, we're going to try to hide them. We're not going to rank them. Okay, we all know that they're the best team, but we're just going to leave them unranked. And then Colorado comes and they just steamroll them, right? They let them get a little bit ahead. They were like, all right, you guys can have your fun for sure. And then they just catch up, Hail Mary just for some show, right? These guys are basically showmen that are really, really good at football. And I don't see any reason. I mean, what are their odds on the future right now? Probably like 35-1. I'd take it. I'd put my whole bankroll on it.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
If I do that, they're going to lose. I mean, that's a guarantee. If I bet on anybody else, they'll probably win.
I'm very confused why we're blowing Baylor or Colorado right now. And Baylor. You're just ridiculous.
I don't get it. Hey, but actually, though, Iowa State playing Baylor, I think it's next weekend. Is next weekend the 5th? I don't have a calendar up in here, but on the 5th or the 6th or whatever it is, that weekend, my birthday weekend, Iowa State decides, all right, you know what? It's Marv on Air's birthday. Let's have a whiteout game. For the Iowa State Cyclones playing the best team in the nation, the Baylor Bears, and we're going to have a whiteout game, pom-poms, fireworks, drone show, the whole shebang. I'm really excited to watch that. I don't know if we'll come out on top, to be honest, because Baylor is so good. I think they might score 600 points. Like, they're really, really good. Obviously, it just shows how good Colorado is. But, I mean, that's kind of the risk you run when you schedule a team that has never been seen before in college football.
I don't even know where this take is going anymore. Just leading up for next week, I guess.
This guy doesn't know ball. This guy doesn't know ball, guys. He doesn't even know how good Baylor is. No, you're exactly right, though. Speaking of next week, we're going to have a great guest on. I can't wait to chat with him and get the tech figured out, hopefully. Chase, thank you so much for coming on this Thursday morning. Greatly appreciate it. Hopefully we'll be back to regularly scheduled programming next week, and we'll be able to chat for a little bit longer. We both got to get moving here. We got shit going on in our lives. Believe it or not, this is not our full-time job. If you want to make it our full-time job, and you are still listening, we greatly appreciate you liking, sharing, taking 10 seconds out of your day to be like, hey, you know what? This program's not half bad. Maybe you guys give it a look. Means more than you guys know. It does move the needle quite a bit, so we greatly, greatly appreciate that. And I'm going to throw this out there, and I'm going to see how this goes. If you want to be on next week's show, tweet at me or tweet at me at marvonair.show. I'll put it up on the screen. Or, what is it called? Tag me in your Instagram story and just post what you're watching, like what's your favorite moment from the weekend, and we'll talk about it next week. Now, there's a high chance that nobody does that, and we just completely scrap that segment. But if you are still listening and want to be a part of the program, definitely do that. Chase, you know what's coming down the pipe?
I do not.
Something huge, okay? Something
boy.
huge. Okay, we're looking at maybe 5 months from now. One of these. We'll go like this. Welcome to Marv on Air. What do you have to talk about today?
Oh.
Potentially? Hey, potentially. So we got to get the crowd interaction going. We got to get these guys showing us what they're watching, and let's just see how much ball you guys know. Okay, let's just see how it goes. All right. That's all we got today. Chase, will you do me the honors? Redbone is not here today to close out our Thursday, September 26th, 2024 Marv on Air show.
I sure can. Deuces.
Well done.